They talk about Darwin, evolution of species.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Where does it find its fulfillment? See, everything gravitates back to God. It's just nature. It's like water, wherever it falls, rain, top of the mountain, wherever, it goes back to the ocean. All life is like that. It gravitates back to oneness, to God. You see? So what happens with Darwin, with the evolution of species, is how he says it. Species evolve. The organisms grow and they become more and more evolved. Where does that process end? It ends when you have a species, an animal, if you will, but it's not an animal anymore, really, not properly, not really. But it ends when you have a species that's capable of embodying the totality of all knowledge. They fully gravitated back to oneness, huh? Ancient rishis, see now, what's the name of that species? What's the name of that species? It's a human being. That's why you are all so fortunate, because you have a human physiology. And the human physiology, it's like a bell. If the bell is encrusted with stresses and, impurities, you hit it just thunk, thunk. But if it's purified, you tap and it rings. And what sound does it make? It makes the sound of the Veda. Ancient rishis purified themselves to the point where all the infinite knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, harmony that dwelled at the very depth of existence welled up through their physiology and out their five senses, out their vocal cords. That's called Vedic cognition. The Veda is eternal, and it's cognized by people with very, very pure nervous systems, very pure physiologies. It's a little like the physiology becomes so pure and so in harmony with the depth of being, it's like a phonograph. And the needle of the phonograph just touches into the record, the etchings in the record, and wells up through all the different levels and out the microphone. That's called Vedic cognition. And that's the foundation of Hinduism. That's the foundation of pure knowledge. It's nature. Veda means what? Nature. It's nature. Vedic cognition. That's the value of what you have. That's the value of what we have. Now, the very structure of Veda, Punjaji can tell you, the very structure of Veda is very profound. You have the depth of existence and you have the surface of life. When the depth of existence, pure being, God, stepped into the surface of life, what's that called? $100 if anybody can tell me what's that called. Itihasa. It's the Itihasas. Lord Rama, the Ramayana, Mahabharata. God, what happens when God enters the field of duality? It's the story. But it's not just that story. That story is going on at every point in creation all the time. It's lively. The Veda is lively and it's eternal and it's omnipresent. And it has two facets to it. One side is science. The other side is heart. The Veda is everything. It's both. It's the heart and the mind combined. It's pure intellect and pure devotion, you see? So, back to Ayurveda. What's Ayurveda? Within the depth of existence, the knowledge of the depth of existence, everything looks at everything else. Like I was telling Pundaji, he laughed, it's all done with mirrors. You have unbounded consciousness. Unbounded consciousness looks at relativity, enters into relativity, itihasa. Relativity looks at the absolute, looks at God, looks at the transcendent. What's he see? The Puranas. Incredible stories. God's flying around doing all these amazing things. You see? Ayurveda is that part of Vedic knowledge where the relativity looks at relativity. It interacts with relativity. and purifies relativity, working with its own level, you see? So all the different branches of Veda, Brahmanas, the Upanishads, Aranyakas, like that. That's the absolute looking at itself, within the absolute, pure knowledge, Shruti, like that. So that knowledge, see, and it's science. Adi Shankara said that the knowledge has to be purified generation after generation. Otherwise it gets lost. It's that fine. It's that delicate. Sometimes they refer to the Vedas as the secret doctrines. And some people might think, oh, the secret doctrine's great. Here, I got the secret doctrines, I can read them and I'll know all the secrets. No. They're secret because even after you read them, they remain a secret to you. The physiology has to purify. So we say that knowledge is structured in consciousness. As your consciousness refines, knowledge changes. And it becomes so fine, it becomes so subtle. If you ask an enlightened master to talk about karma, he'll talk about karma. And you'll hear what he says. Oh, yes. Well, I heard what Yogananda said, and I heard what Ramana Maharshi said, and so, yeah, I understand that. But the funny thing is, even though you would use the same words, as your consciousness refines, the words take on a different meaning. It's that subtle. The knowledge is in the gaps, they say, between the words. So what is real knowledge? What is real knowledge? Anybody? What's knowledge? Some people think, oh, well, if I memorize the Vedas, then I have knowledge of the Vedas. If I memorize Sanskrit, then I'm a spiritual being. Those things are very good. And they're good because they help purify the physiology. But we must realize that's not real knowledge, not knowledge with a capital K. As precious as it is, as divine as it is, knowledge is not things, it's beyond things. It's the field of pure consciousness, pure isness, pure no-thingness, God. And a person of knowledge then is awake to that level of their being that is at home with all the laws of nature. And you have a human physiology, which means just through meditation, going to temple, all the different things you can do to help purify the physiology, living life properly, eating properly like that, you can purify the physiology to the point where you awaken to that field of pure knowledge. And let's say you don't attain it this lifetime. Doesn't matter, because every time you meditate, you purify. You move more and more deeply into that level. Approach that level more and more. Your life becomes better. Go to the temple, your life becomes better. You purify. But what's the goal? The goal is to awaken to that field of pure knowledge. And I'll tell you a very fortunate thing. It's called momentum. You know what momentum is. Snowball starts rolling down the mountain. It rolls faster and faster, gains momentum. As you meditate, the physiology, the consciousness, meditation means bringing the awareness to that deep level of pure knowingness, pure isness, pure consciousness. And what happens is it's sweet, it's wholeness, it's fulfillment, it's infinite harmony. So good, bliss consciousness, you see? So what happens is your physiology through meditation develops a habit. Dips into that level and goes into activity. Dips into that level and goes into activity. Dips into that level, goes into activity. And it thirsts for that. Becomes a habit. Bliss, activity, bliss, activity. Slowly, more and more bliss gets infused into all levels of life. You see, like that. You start to live more and more in harmony with natural law. But even if you die before you attain moksha, before you attain enlightenment, the physiology has a habit. And so when you drop the body, you go, how does Lord Rama or Lord Yama? You fly right over his head, mountaintop to mountaintop. You gravitate, and once you let go of all your attachments to relativity, you just go to the highest heaven. You see? Like that. So meditation has many values. It improves your life on a daily level. It leads you in the direction of enlightenment and liberation. It makes you more intelligent, more harmonious, more fulfilled, happier. All those different values. And even if you don't attain moksha this lifetime, you will come back resolute, because you'll remember that taste, you see. So meditate, meditate, meditate. Number one, meditate. Number two, just like Adi Shankara said, discern. Someone was saying the other day, oh yeah, well, there are all these different opinions. You know, about spirituality, you know, all these different ideas about spirituality. One opinion's just as good as another. No. There's a such thing as truth. There's such thing as knowledge. And you attain knowledge through discernment. What is discernment? It's not just the intellect. You can justify anything with the intellect. Discernment means integration of the depth of your being, your heart, your soul, with your mind, with your intellect. Intellect is a great tool. It's a poor master. Your thoughts matter very little. You can think anything. We think strange things every day. Every minute we think something strange. But how do you feel about that thought? That's what matters. And as you refine your relationship with those feelings and your thoughts and your feelings and your thoughts, and you cultivate your awareness and you meditate, dipping into that home of all knowledge and then acting and discerning, slowly, slowly you evolve. So the two things, meditation and discernment. Become discerning. Become discerning. And then spiritual knowledge at some point ceases to be just opinion. It's not opinion, there's truth. Some things are valid, some things aren't. You see? But because knowledge is structured in consciousness, people might pick up the Veda, read the Veda, oh, okay, I get the Veda, and I've read all the Vedas, and I know all the Vedas, and so I'm a spiritual teacher. And then they go out and teach the knowledge from where? From whatever their level of consciousness is. And the knowledge gets lost. The knowledge gets lost. They're well intended. Isn't it a beautiful thing? That deep inside every person feels what? God. Every person feels. They call it your soul. But everybody feels, even animals, even an earthworm can feel there's something there that's precious. And it's amazing to me that when you look all over the world, people have no real understanding, can't even prove the existence of God, can't justify it, have no intellectual understanding of it. Deep inside they know. And they build incredible temples. They do all of these things in the name of God, even though they can't prove it, but they know it. And it's the integration of that inner knowing with intellect that's called discernment. Meditate and become discerning and attain enlightenment, attain moksha, attain liberation. Every human being is great. And every human being is unique. Some are naturally more intellectual, some are more loving. Whole field, many different flowers in the garden of life, huh? But every human being can awaken to their divinity, and based upon their own unique nature, it emerges. I'll tell you one place where the world gets confused is, oh, when you're a spiritual person, you act this way, or you do this, or you do that. It's a field of all possibilities. Too many people, oh, if they walk in, they flow in with robes, and they talk in a different way, and they're very, oh, they must be enlightened. Too superficial. You can't really tell a person's level of consciousness on the surface. Enlightenment dwells in the depth. The surface can look like it does based on personality. When you finally get enlightened, your personality doesn't all of a sudden change. You don't all of a sudden become some other kind of person. You are who you are. It's more natural. Enlightenment means natural, becoming more in harmony with your own true nature, whatever that is. You see?